I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Balara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you. Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today we're here with Eric Martel. Eric purchased his first apartment building at just 18 years of age. That's incredibly impressive. And after graduation, he was an actuary, and sort of that experience, I think, led into kind of a mindset shift in terms of, financial freedom and planning. So Eric, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me, Jason. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So I would love it if you would just kind of go ahead and tell people really what that journey was like. I think it's actually quite interesting, probably to a lot of people, that you were able to get started at such a young age. So, maybe talk about that and what you've learned throughout your time as an investor. I'd love to hear all of it.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I bought my first apartment building, an 8-unit apartment building, when I was still at university, 18 years of age. And the reason for this is because I just happened to meet an individual that was a real estate investor, and he agreed to mentor me. When I was younger, I don't want to go into a long story about my childhood, but I lived in a life with middle class. My parents live, paycheck to paycheck, and like many people. So pretty usual kind of thing. But I knew from an early age that that's not the life I wanted for myself. And so when I met this individual, he was just a regular community college teacher. And he managed to build a 36-unit apartment building from scratch. He was looking at building a shopping center. He had the land already for it. He was looking at investing into nursing homes and all of that. And did I mention he was just a community college teacher? Basically, just a regular salary, nothing special, no special education. And he managed to do that. And so I knew there was something there, and I wanted to learn anything that I could from him. Also, at the time, I was also going out with my girlfriend, and then her parents. Her father was a mechanic. He was also investing a lot in real estate. Her mother was a hairdresser, and she managed, they were separated. And so they both had like apartment buildings and all of that. So I knew that you didn't need to be like super rich. You didn't need to have some special skills in order to make it, to have some financial stability using real estate. So this guy just came, was introduced by this family, and I knew, I want to teach me everything you can. And basically it took about 9 months, maybe a year, to kind of like get everything in order and find the property that would meet my criteria, which was no money down, and cash flowing. So these are the two main criteria. I didn't care what else, but these were the key criteria. And yeah, after like a few months, I found it, and and my realtor was like, the whole way he was telling me, this does not exist. You can't find that. It's not there. And then when I found it, they say, oh, okay, maybe it does.
Yeah.
But it took a long time. So, and it was not also in the very nicest neighborhood. And so, trying to find the next one, I said, well, this is very difficult. I was graduating from school, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to make some money, and then I'll try to buy another apartment building. But then once you get into the W-2 kind of mind frame and stuff like that, mindset, then it's kind of hard to get out of that. And And then the places that the cities that I lived in, you know, there was no deals that I could find. So it was very hard to find something that would be cash flowing, even though I would put money down. Now I had some money saved up. So I said, well, you know, this is okay. Well, this is not the right time, or this is not the right building, or I would kind of keep looking. But I was also working full time, so it was pretty tough to do that. Eventually, I did some independent consulting, moved to California, did more independent consulting here. I had a ton of stock options at the time, and I said, well, I want to diversify. I want to buy, you know, real estate. You know, so I started kind of networking with the people around here. Not sure if you're familiar with the San Francisco real estate market, but in 2000, when I moved, and still today, it's a very hot market. So finding something that cash flows is at a good return, a cash on cash return, is pretty much impossible. So, you know, so I said, okay, well, I'm going to stay in the stock market. And then 2001, we had the dot-com crash. So pretty much lost everything. And I said, okay, well, this was my turning point at that time. I said, okay, this is enough of stock market and stuff like that. Whenever I move forward, it has to be focused on cash flow. It has to be something also that has very good return. And it has to be something that I'm in control of. Because if I fail, I can accept my own failure, but I can't accept doing something on the stock market and all of a sudden, you know, the whole thing, you know, collapse for whatever reason. So I said, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do that. And then I looked at real estate, but again, in the San Francisco market, it didn't really work out. Then I looked at other businesses that would potentially cash flow, where I would put some money in, and then I would be able to kind of get. So I did like a gourmet sauce company. We did a low carb grocery store. We did, you know, a number of different businesses, that in the hope that these businesses would actually cash flow and be self-managed. And then we can step back and then, you know, just let them run. Easier said than done. And gourmet sauce company is it's very difficult, tight market. And then so we exited that. We worked on it for 5 years. Didn't lose any money, but we didn't make any money either. So it was kind of a break-even situation. And then we said, okay, well, moved on, and we looked at real estate. One of my son came to me and said, hey, you know, I want to do real estate investment. I said, what? So I said, man, I kind of like brought back memories and stuff. I said, okay, well, let's look at that. Let's look at that again, you know. And so we shared that. So I had an open mind, and yeah, I mean, we tried again to do different kind of strategies in the San Francisco Bay Area. Didn't quite work out. And eventually, this is when we started looking out of California altogether. We said, let's look at it more strategically and say, okay, well, what is a perfect market where I would get cash flowing rental properties? I want to have like a pretty good economy. I want to have diversified businesses in that city. I want to have, you know, not you know, where the real estate market is not too hot, so I can buy houses at a decent price. The rent is high enough. There's good unemployment. Blah blah blah. So a list of criteria. Then I start searching the different markets, and then we came up with Memphis and Cleveland and St. Louis, and that's where. So the first house we bought was in Memphis, a single family home. Paid like $35,000 for it, put like $5,000 or $10,000, and then it was cash flowing about $250 a month or something like that. So that was our first house, and then we say, oh, this is great. So let's do another one, and so we found another distress, and then so we basically kind of like doubled. Like we got started with one, then we said, well, let's do two, and let's do four, and all of that, and so that's kind of how we started in that business, just thinking of building our own single family portfolio at that point. And then after that, then our friends, you know, they've seen some of the other businesses that we've done. So they became curious and said, what are you guys doing? Like, I hear that you're doing like investment in Memphis. Why Memphis? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, so then these people, these same individuals that were questioning us, decided to invest with us, buy properties from us, and all of that. And this is when MartelTurnkey was basically created and founded, where we said, okay, well, now we need to, this is a completely different business. We're going to help people build passive income portfolio. And this is how that whole mission of MartelTurnkey came about.
Very interesting. There's a lot to, I feel like we can go through a whole lot. That's actually really cool. So, well, maybe let's start sort of back at the beginning. It's always interesting to me to see how influential people's experiences at a young age are. And, you know, you mentioned you sort of fell into this sort of perfect storm of where everyone around you was investing in real estate, despite not being, you know, the traditional, what people think of these, you know, really wealthy people, only really wealthy people invest in real estate. And and it's not true, right? It's accessible to virtually anyone. You know, it's not always easy, but it's doable, it's there. And so you were lucky enough to kind of encounter that at a very young age and get that, you know, sort of entrepreneurial bug right off the bat. So where was that 8 unit? Where did you buy that?
It was in near Montreal, about 45 minutes outside of Montreal.
Okay.
In a little town called Trois-Rivières.
Okay.
3 rivers.
Okay. I'm not familiar, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. I know.
It tells you, I mean, but it's again, you made a great point where, you know, the realtor's telling you, oh no, that doesn't exist. And I'm sure you probably had a number of other people sort of telling you, you're too young, you know, you don't have the money, whatever it is, like all of those limiting beliefs that we have in ourselves and also get put on by, you know, on us by others. And you had the, you know, determination to sort of ignore that and say, I'm going to do this. So that's a fantastic start. And then I think, you know, then your journey into, you started your W-2 job and you get a little bit maybe away from it because you have, you know, people call it the golden handcuffs or what, you know, whatever you want to say. There's money coming in. I don't have.
It's an addiction.
Right.
It's a little bit of an addiction. I mean, it's very hard. I mean, when you're a professional, you make decent amount of money, especially when you're young. I mean, you make a lot of more money than you can spend. And then you're just like, wow, it's amazing. Yeah. They're giving me all this money.
Right. Yeah. And you sort of, you know, at that time, you almost feel, at least I did, I almost felt grateful that people were willing to pay me money and all I had to do is work. Right. And it was just like, you get caught up in that now. And I think both of us are, you know, sort of in that mindset of, wait a second, maybe that's not such a sweet deal. I'm not giving up my time for money isn't necessarily the way to go. But so the other thing I found sort of interesting there is that I often hear people talk about how they go from single family to multifamily. Right. They kind of, that's the progression, not everybody, but that's when people say, oh, I want to scale or whatever, that's what they go to. Now you sort of did the opposite, right? You started with an 8-unit, which I think is actually a lot of people would consider a very big first step, especially as a person as young as 18. And then you kind of flipped into this single family investing model, but you created a business out of it, different from just having your own investments, right? So you had that, and so you're maybe able to scale by incorporating it as something that you can provide as a service to other people. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about sort of, I know you said it almost sounds like it sort of just turned into a thing because friends started asking, but at some point I'm assuming you turned that truly into a true business and not just, hey, my friends, you know, you want to come work on this one with me. So how did you make that transition? Because I think that's an important distinction. You had run other businesses, so it seems you knew how to do that, but how did you make that, you know, kind of from, oh, this is just our, you know, whatever it is, our hobby, our side hustle. Hey, wait a minute, this is an actual viable business.
Yeah, so I think the change is really about so when we were doing the single family, so we started building our portfolio, And then we say, well, what do we need? If we're going to turn this into a business, what do we need? Well, we need somebody obviously who's going to do the sales. Can we actually do the transactions? Who's going to do the transactions and all of that? And then where are we going to find our buyers? So we have a couple of buyers now, but where are we going to find more people that are going to want to buy this? And then what are we going to price them at? And so you have to kind of figure out the whole process of, okay, we're going to acquire, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. What does it look like from the person that's going to buy the turnkey rental? Is this going to be a good return for them? Are they going to have good cash flow and all that kind of stuff? So that's the product. The product, I mean, we sell single family rentals, but really what we're selling is a financial product. It looks like a house, but it's actually giving you tax benefits, appreciation, inflation protection, and it's giving you cash flow. So that's what the product is about. So we want to make sure that we wrap everything around it so that it's super easy for people to buy these properties, and that they have positive cash flow and they have a good return. So the same thing that we were looking for when we built our portfolio, we basically are doing that for our clients right now. So that's kind of how we transform that into the business. And I'm doing this business with my two sons, my wife, and now we also have other people that are our extended family, I would say, people that have joined us to help, help in the sales, help in the acquisition. We have a couple of people just doing acquisitions right now, and we do about 10 houses per month, so 120 houses per year. So right now, so it's a sizable business. Yeah. It's not super big, but it's going well, and we're really helping people kind of build a passive income portfolio. You could do commercial. I mean, you mentioned something about commercial versus single family rental. People can definitely do commercial real estate and then jump right into it. It's a little bit more risky. You need more money. It's the due diligence is a little bit more complicated. Financing is a little bit more complicated in some other ways. So it's, for most people, it is a little bit out of reach. So that's why my recommendation for people is just start with single family rental, get your feet wet, get something going. You need only like $20,000 or $30,000 in order to get started with your first single family rental, and you're going to start getting some cash flow and some tax benefits. And then you can move on into, once you have like enough single family rentals and you feel more confident, then you can go into a multifamily, or you can do a syndication or a joint venture with us and invest in a multifamily.
Yeah, sure. So are you still living in San Francisco?
We're in LA right now.
Oh, in LA. So am I.
Yeah.
It's funny. Oh. You're investing still in Kentucky, St. Louis, kind of that Midwest area.
Yeah, in Memphis, Tennessee, and Cleveland, Ohio, St. Louis, and Detroit.
Do you have people there? I assume you must have a team, sort of boots on the ground. Are any of those people, part of your immediate family that's now working with you, or is everybody kind of here and you've got a team that you've hired to sort of be in location?
Yeah, so we have a team on the ground for each of these cities, and then basically we have the property management company that is partnering with us, is kind of central to the whole transaction and the whole process. Then we have contractors and all of that are helping with obviously with the renovations. And then we often have like a project manager or realtor that is there at kind of overseeing the whole thing and be our eyes and ears on the ground. In Memphis, I have one of my son is there and is handling the constructions and the renovation and all of that on the ground. In Cleveland, we have about 10 construction crews, and then pretty sizable property management company there and a very good team. And then same thing with St. Louis and Detroit. So each city has a team on the ground, and then we focus on the process and the monitoring and all of that. I mean, it's a little bit different. Like if you look back before the iPhone, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do this business, right? So we wouldn't be able to, now I can have pictures, I can have video of a walkthrough and all of that, and say, hey, what is this? What is that? And so now now this is something that it's accessible now to do out of state. You even have like electronic signature, and so everything is so much easier. It's not 100% there, but it's really getting there pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, technology has really, I think, accelerated, our ability to do these sort of transactions that were almost exclusively local, now virtually anywhere, right? It's like we're investing in the Southeast. It's like you essentially have a mobile office in your hand with your phone. It's easy to do all that you need to do. Occasionally someone still needs a wet signature for whatever reason, I don't know, but but most of the time, you can use DocuSign and things like that, and it's not hard to kind of get that stuff done. When you are selling one of these turnkey homes, are your management companies in those markets, sort of, is that kind of part of the deal? Like you sell it off and say, here, look, it's already managed. Do they already have a tenant in them? How do you sort of approach that?
Yeah, these are good questions, because when we started building our portfolio, I mean, we also looked at turnkey providers, and then that's why we decided to do it a little bit differently. We wanted to make sure that our client, when they get they buy that single family rentals, that there's no unknown. Everything is handled for them. It's truly turnkey. So we connect them with our preferred lenders. We connect them and introduce them to the property management company, to the insurance company, so everything. And then we don't close until there's a tenant in place. So that, oh, I have a tenant, I know what the rent is, and so before you close, so there's no unknown from that perspective. So it's truly what we call cash flowing from day one. This is what we do.
And I assume that then you're doing the vetting of the tenant and collecting deposits, like that.
Yeah. This is also something that's because our clients are people that have W-2, they're working full time, and then so they don't have time to kind of look at everything and finding a property management company. So we handle everything from A to Z, and then we close, and then they deal exclusively with the property management company after that.
Okay, very nice. You sort of touched on how you have preferred relationships with these vendors and everything. Have you given any thought to getting more vertically integrated in that, essentially bringing all of that in-house and providing those services? I know that's obviously sort of a big leap. It sounds like you've got a lot of the construction sort of under your control, but any of that stuff, even a lending platform or your own property management companies or things like that, have you thought about that type of expansion, or are you sort of happy with where it's at? Just sort of curious where your goals are with it.
Yeah, so we are actually looking at different things. So one of the things that we're looking at, for example, we're starting to we want to create like a title company, our own title company. So that's it's going to be out of Ohio. We're looking for someone in there. So if any of your listeners have a license in Ohio, call me. Yeah, because we're looking for somebody, an entrepreneur that wants to really be the CEO and the leader of that company. The other thing too, in terms of lending, so we do also seller financing, less now, but we did do some seller financing in the past. And right now, I mean, we're just experimenting with something a little bit different. It's going to be kind of like a lease to own of rental properties. So where you would get the rental, you would get the rental and everything from the property, and then you would be able to put some savings towards that every month. We would get the money, and after 3 or 5 years, you would be able to own the property. We would transfer ownership of the property, and then at the specific price, predetermined price.
That's interesting.
So that's where we're looking at that right now, kind of as a new way of financing these deals. And the reason is that some people, they don't have that $20,000 to $30,000 to get started. So that's one aspect of it. And I feel like it's very important for people to start focusing on financial freedom. And so this would potentially help them. If you don't have the down payment, then at least you're gonna get the rental income, help you kind of build that passive income and that down payment.
Yeah, use that. That's actually a really great product for people to get started. That just to get your foot in the door, do that even once or twice, and then at that point you should be able to start using some of that rental income to then put towards down payments on future properties. It's kind of like a subject to type of situation where in terms of
it is well, it is in a way. I mean, this company, basically we would continue to hold the property. I mean, we're defining kind of like the criteria, but basically the MartelTurnkey would still own the property. You would basically pay a lease fee to do that, and the lease fee would pay for kind of like as if you were lending or mortgaging the property. And then another component of that would be the savings component. And then at the end of the 3 or 5 year period, then you would have enough down payment to cover like, half the down payment and the closing costs for that. You would still have to come up with a little bit of residual, and then we'll be able to transfer ownership at that point with a lender. So I guess that's,
maybe more like a master lease. I mean, anyway,
it's kind of a lease to own. If you think of it as a car rental, it'd be kind of like that. So you basically put a down payment. This one you may not even have to put a down payment, but it'd be a small down payment. You would pay your fee for the car and the lease, and at the end you have a residual amount. If you want to own the car at the end, you pay the residual amount, and then you can get a loan for the car and stuff like that at that point. Gotcha. It'd be kind of like that.
I always really love just like hearing the creativity, the different. It's one of the best things about real estate is there's so many different ways that it can be done. There's just so many different ways. It's like, as you mentioned, most of your clients probably have W-2 jobs. They're busy. They are, they're looking for something that is pretty hands-off and fairly easy to get started. And now you can do that, with this model, you're able to provide people that with effectively that don't have the down payment to start. So it really, it's really nice to have so many different options, and it's good to have also just the ability to get people started, right? Because that's the most important thing in real estate is just getting started. So however you can get your foot in the door, and then from there the sky's the limit. You can really do a lot with that. So really cool business model. I like that a lot. Thank you for sharing that. Well, maybe Eric, let's shift gears a little bit. I do have sort of a handful of questions that I like to ask each guest, so we can go to that here. The first one is relevant to the name of the show, being Know Your Why. So what is your why? What's your motivation for success, and kind of keeps the fire burning?
Well, I had why's changed over time, right? So when I was younger, at 18 years old, the why of the real estate was to learn, and learn by doing, and showing to myself that, I can make money without having a job, a W-2 job. So that was something that was very important. Now it's really about building a legacy for my children. And then, before it was also achieving financial freedom. So that's done. Now it's about leaving a legacy for my children, making sure that there's something after that where my kids are taken care of, and my grandkids. And so I think we're pretty much there. And then, but this is something that was very important to me. And also, I mean, I always wanted to work with my family. So I've achieved that as well. So this is, I work with my 2 sons very closely, and my wife, who's in the office next door. But so this is great. It may not be their dream, but it's mine. So
it's your dream that you sucked them into
That's
being
right.
a part of. Yeah, I mean,
Well, I don't know. They sucked me in too, so it was kind
yeah,
of
I was gonna
give
say,
and
I'm sure
take.
they're probably pretty happy with the way things are working out. So
Yeah.
that's really nice. I think I too. I mean, I can't. My kids are very young right now, but I look forward to sort of having them be a part of it, and
Mhm.
look, we own this building. Let's go walk, or let's build something, or do a flip, or whatever it is. Just
Yeah.
kind of let them be a part of it. So I really do look forward to that in a few
Yeah.
years. Um, all right. Well, the next question is this may be foreshadowing. I'm not sure what you're going to say, but tell us something about yourself that is maybe not common knowledge, something people don't know. One of the examples I often give is a special skill. So we we talked a little bit about it before we started recording. That's one. If you have something else you want to share, then please do.
Well, there's a lot of things, but I mean, I would say probably I bake bread. So that's I'm a bread baker. I love fermentation in general. So
Okay.
I also used to make beer and all that, and I like wine. And but yeah, bread. I think that's something I do, and I have my own sourdough starter that I've been feeding for years, and so yeah,
No, that's
I love
great.
that.
I Someone else
I'm
was
sure there's a metaphor in there for real estate, but
right. There's something about baking bread that I feel like you can always find some connection. But this is a dumb question, I'm sure of it, but the only bread baking I've seen is a bread maker, like one of
oh
those,
yeah,
essentially those machines. That's not what you're doing, right? You're
no,
actually
that's not. It's by hand.
right. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I assumed, but I do not bake bread. So I don't have that. I don't have that connection,
It
but
is great. I mean, it's something for people to try at least once. I think
yeah.
it's very good.
That's fantastic. I'm sure your family gets to reap the benefits of that as well, getting
Yep.
getting some delicious fresh bread. So that's amazing. Um, we'll put whatever you like in the show notes. But how would you like people to reach out to you if they when they hear this and they want to connect? I know you said you're looking for someone for your title company, but what would be the best way to touch base?
So the best way would be on Instagram, E_Martel, MARTEL, or on Facebook, eric.martel.ca. It would be very good. I also have my website too, so you have all the links in there, marteleric.com.
Okay, good. And we will put that all in the show notes, so it's there for
Okay.
people. Final question. So maybe well, you started very young, but think back to think back to a long time ago when you were sort of getting started. What would you give to people as advice? Whether that's motivational or purely technical advice. What would you say to people that are trying to sort of get going into real estate?
Well, I would say take action. I think this is there's support for you out there, kind of like network, know the people that can help you, and then take action. I think this is the most important thing. It's better to take action and make a mistake than not take action at all. So
Yeah, just get started.
yeah.
As we talked about with your your rent to rent or lease to rent, I guess.
Yeah.
That model.
Well, you even look at if you just look at Gourmet Sauce Company. I mean, it was a great experience. 5 years of my life. I mean, I could look at it and say, oh, 5 years wasted. But it was a great experience. We learned a lot about it, and in the end, I mean, we didn't make money, but we didn't lose money. So it was kind of like it was great learning and great experience. And many other business like the low carb grocery store, same thing. I mean, we just like my wife ran it for a couple of years, and then Atkins died, and then for those who know the low carb diet, so he was kind of critical. But anyway, so but we didn't lose money. Great experience and all of that. So having calculated risk, take actions, but calculate your risk. Make sure and then find the support in people that they're going to help you, build a team around you, and you'll be successful. Eventually, you'll be successful.
Yeah. Just given time, you're bound to sort of become successful at some point, as long as you put in the work. Yeah. And I think that's actually a really great point. Is you had these other businesses, and you can say, oh, we didn't make any money or whatever. But what it did is it taught you more and more about running a business. And so now you've got another business that's extremely successful. And it's probably some of those experiences with the gourmet sauce and the grocery store, all of that, it all just builds. It's all just a part of your life experiences. And then you can move them forward, from there. And I hear people will say, it's okay to fail because you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. And that's kind of exactly what you did here. It's not that you're, gourmet sauce, it didn't fail, but it didn't make you a billionaire.
Yeah.
It
didn't reach its objective, that's for sure.
Right.
You could call that a failure.
Right. Well, it again, I think it prepares you for the, further steps. So I think that's fantastic. Listen, Eric, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This has been great. I really enjoyed hearing about your story. So thank you again.
Well, thank you for having me, Jason. A pleasure to be here.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get going. Have a good day, everyone. I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Balara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you.